thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Hi. Congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
People love this book. It's an incredible book, and it's been adapted a couple times, but it's never been adapted really into a series.
No.
Were you aware of the book when you were asked to be a part of the show?
By that point, I was. But when I went in to read for it, I had only read the pilot. And I didn't know that it was this book that had been published in '86, and I didn't know really who Serena Joy was, and I certainly didn't know that it would be so accidentally aligned with today's current state of the world, current politics.
The Handmaid's Tale, a.k.a. Mike Pence's America, into a series, his fantasy America, where he gets to call every woman mother. Did you like that? So you get the pilot. What's interesting about the pilot to me is that it leaves a lot out in regards to what is actually happening in this sort of dystopic future. And these things, these pieces of the story build as the series goes on, right? So were you kind of confused getting the pilot? Did you understand everything that was happening?
No, I didn't, which is what was what drew me to it also, is that there was a huge mystery, and I sort of had to put the pieces together going in, Serena Joy, who is this woman, why is she so unfriendly?
To say the least.
To say the least. But then, and that was, as I got into it more, and then when I got cast as Serena Joy, suddenly I start reading this, amazing novel by the amazing Margaret Atwood, and then I realized I maybe got myself into some deep water here, because I don't relate to Serena Joy much.
Good. It's good.
That was a huge challenge to make sense of this woman who is very mean and brittle and not someone who you want to be your friend, and here I am trying to make sense of this bad guy, because I feel like I'm playing one of the bad guys, and how do I humanize her? What is the heart of this woman? Why is she so mean?
How do you make her not one-dimensional for you, the actress, so you don't feel like you're going in and sort of playing the same thing every day, or not really finding the core of her?
Well, that's like a whole can of worms. I feel like she is, to me, when I broke it down and when I got down to the nitty-gritty of it, I really thought that Serena Joy is someone who has been stripped of a huge part of her identity. Here's a woman who, in present-day America, which is now in our story, the Republic of Gilead, she was a smart woman, she was an intellectual woman, she was a writer, she was a spokeswoman, and here she is now in Gilead, not able to work, not able to read, because women are not allowed to read in Gilead. Women are supposed to follow their biological destinies, which is to provide children and care for the home, and that's it. So here's a woman who's been stripped of all of that stuff, and also stripped of her connection to her husband. So I imagine pre-Gilead, her and the commander, played by Joseph Fiennes, might have had somewhat of a normal relationship. They're people of faith, and within that, they had a connection. They related to each other intellectually through their work. He's obviously a smart man. They're related to each other sexually also. So then you take away a woman's right to sexually relate to her husband, and what are you left with? I think everyone can ask themselves that question. It's not a great place to be in at all. It's very lonely. And so much of the time when I was playing Serena, I felt like a lot of it was about connection and trying to find a connection in a world where you're not allowed to connect, or you can't connect in the way that you used to. And add on top of that, the fact that Serena Joy was part of the architects of creating this society that she lives in because of her faith and because of what she believes in. At some point, I feel like she did fall off that conversation, because women are not allowed to be part of that conversation anymore, but she was one of the people that fought to make the society the way it is. So it's so complicated.
Well, it's an odd duality that she's in the sense that, she sort of was the architect behind this world, or one of them, and now that she's living in it, all of her rights have been taken away. It's the sort of chickens coming home to roost for someone who's very far on the right, who's sort of planning a world like this.
Yeah.
Is that sort of what you kind of came up with as well? That, yes, this was by design for her, but now that she's living in her design, it's also humiliating and depressing and without emotion.
It's all kinds of things. And there's no outlet and that's there's so much of this show, I think, as you watch all these characters, you know,
Her
through
outlet, it seems, is getting to debase other women.
right, but also, and because I'm biased because I have to play her, she's also trying to survive, and I feel like the one beacon of hope that she holds on to is the fact that she can maybe have a child one day, and because she's been deemed a barren woman, she can't have a child. She has to rely on Offred to give her this child, and she will get that child at whatever means, whatever it takes, at Offred's expense. And that's where we get into all this amazing brutality in the show, and the I mean, there's a whole world of brutality in this show, but that's definitely part of it. And you see this crazy power play between these two women, who also, by the way, in the book, it's a little different because Serena Joy in the original book is older. So you don't, and now that Lizzie and I, Lizzie Moss, who plays Offred, are of equal age, basically, it's, the power play is so interesting because you have two women. One is at the top of the food chain and one is at the bottom, but yet that power play is not so black and white in reality. And so often, you know, when we were playing and doing the scenes, it was so great to have all these things that we never thought would pop up, you know, all the different nuances of the power play and the energy and her power over Serena in the ceremony scene where we all have sex together. No, that's not how it goes. My husband has sex with her.
Scene. I didn't see that scene.
It's complicated.
What episode is that scene? I missed that one.
Hey.
I have to rewind. That's incredible. Now, a lot of people say that this book, which came out, Margaret Atwood's book, which came out in like 86, 87, was incredibly
86, yeah.
prescient in terms of the sort of the right wing and how much further to the right that they got and how much more misogynistic that it's becoming, especially now. I know you guys were shooting this during the election, right? So what was that like to go from what everyone thought was going to be the first female president to the first president that bragged about sexually assaulting a woman? I don't think it's funny. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Totally fucked up.
that was really that was really tough. I personally, well, here's like a little bit about me with that because this is how I'm going to explain the rest of it. I grew up in Australia. Our politics are different, and I'm not politically minded, and I was never really interested in it. But it's hard to turn away when something like, you know, the Trump-Hillary campaign is going on. So I got super drawn into it, of course, and I was surprised. I surprised myself in how emotionally involved I got and how much it affected me emotionally when she lost and he won. And suddenly I found myself playing a character that, in a lot of ways, she's a bit Trump. You know, there's that hierarchy in this Republic of Gilead is that, and I found myself, you know, seeing all these parallels, but at the same time I found myself seeing all these parallels with the issues that were being brought up with women, you know, women's rights to their bodies, what rights do we have when we get pregnant, you know, all that kind of stuff, and so there's also a duality going on there, and suddenly we're making a show that feels a hell of a lot more relevant than it ever could have been. And that's one of the, to me, that's just so amazing that here we are making a show about a novel that was written in 86, and when we're here and it's 2017, and somehow so accidentally we're so much more relevant than we ever thought we would be or could be. That to me is, it's magic. I mean, I don't think anyone could have planned for that. I mean, aside from the fact that the show is wonderful and amazing and completely, you know, beautifully brutal, if I can say that, and it's enticing in its own right. But at the same time, you've got this other thing going on in our real world today. It's very hard not to acknowledge that, and yeah.
Being from Australia, are you surprised at the sort of right of American politics? Because Australia is a Western democracy. I won't get too deep into it, but at the same time, their far right-wing politicians in Australia are far more liberal than the far right politicians that we have in the United States. I mean, they believe in healthcare in Australia, and they believe in sort of basic principles that sort of help foster a society up.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. You know, I never grew up with problems with healthcare. You know, we had a healthcare system. I went to university. I had a university school debt that wasn't going to drag me down the way I see it dragging people getting dragged down by it here. I mean, I've got friends who I can't believe, like it's almost like a system that's set up to, you can't get ahead. There's no way these people can get ahead, and I don't understand that how can it be a choice for someone, you know, pay my rent or pay my medical bill and get treated for this thing that I have to get treated for? That's insane to me. But also the how entwined politics is with religion, and that's very dangerous. I find
a lot of this, what the Handmaid's Tale is about.
A lot of what this is about, you know, when we get into that fundamentalist regime and what that creates and how that affects everybody, in their psyche, emotionally, what it does to humanity.
Had you played a villain before? Was this your first villain? I mean, if we can call her a villain, for lack of a better word right now.
Hannah was kind of a villain, yeah. I'm so biased, though. I can't, Hannah. I loved Hannah. But Hannah was a sociopath.
She was a sociopath?
I guess she was, yeah, she was.
So you've got some experience with sociopaths.
I guess I do.
Do you enjoy playing a sociopath? I feel like it's a lot of fun to chew on a sociopath.
I guess, but for me, it's not. It's not. I mean, I think from the outside looking in, it seems like that. Like it would be fun to do it from that way around. But for me, I always try and do it from the inside out. So I always try and figure out why. It's always why. Why is this person doing this? Why? Somehow it has to be logically justifiable in my brain for me to move through it. And
how difficult is it for an actor to do something, to perform something, when you can't logically justify it, and a director or a writer, like, they won't logically justify it for you either? You know, I know a lot of times with actors, like, well, why is my character doing this? And sometimes directors are just like, I don't know, that's just what we wrote, and that's what we have to do to service the plot right now.
I mean, sometimes, I mean, I like to think that I hope I have it sort of worked out, even if I don't relate to it, that there is somewhat of a logic for me, but a lot of the time also you take a leap of faith. And you know, we the first 3 episodes of The Handmaid's Tale, Reed Morano directed the first 3, and
she's great.
I had never worked with Reed, and she is unbelievable. Really, like we really got a chance to play with her, and there were a lot of moments where, you know, I found myself sort of playing with something that I didn't anticipate that I might explore on the day, and that is a lot of thanks to her allowing us the time to really experiment and settle and find the right tone. I think for this show and the pilot and everything that they'd written, everything that Bruce Miller, our creator writer, put in for this, and everything that Lizzie has done, and how brilliant she has been, and the rest of the cast. Like it really allowed us the time to marinate in and be very thoughtful about what we were doing. And I think it has paid off. I mean, so far, people are responding to the pilot.
Yeah, it's great.
Something people want to see.
It's getting incredible reviews. I read a review just before we started talking from the Washington Post that said it's, you know, must-see television, and now more than ever, people need to watch a show like this. That must be an incredible feeling.
It is. It is, and it's scary, and it's daunting, but it's thrilling. And it's just, I'm sort of the most excited to see how people respond to this, just based on the parallels of reality and non-reality. I mean,
possible realities
possible
to
reality,
come?
Potential reality.
You are in The Predator, the new Predator film,
Yes.
right? That Shane Black, who wrote Lethal Weapon, wrote and directed The Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, is writing and directing. A lot of people are incredibly excited for this movie. I love the first Predator movie, and it's so weird to talk about the Predator and Shane Black after The Handmaid's Tale.
Right? It's so weird. Change the
Super
poster.
macho sci-fi movie. What was it like working on that movie? Are you still shooting it?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of fun. I've worked with Shane Black before, so he's a lot of fun. I'm really, this is kind of boring because I'm not really allowed to talk about or to say what my role is or anything like that. But
It's got a great cast.
it was a great cast, and it was so much fun working on it. Shane's got a particular style, and sometimes it's a little bit go with the flow, and it's super fun, and it keeps things spontaneous and.
Go with the flow, meaning like people are improvising and stuff, because he's an incredible writer. I mean, I know he's very attached to his incredible lines and wit in the script.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but there is a little bit of freedom, I think, to improvise a bit here and there.
Did you guys have the invisible Predator on? So, like, what was going on with the? Did you guys have like a 7-foot guy playing the Predator?
I mean, I can't talk about it.
Were you a fan of the Predator beforehand? Had you seen it?
I have now, but I've been saying get to the chopper my whole life, and I'd never seen the movie.
You know which Schwarzenegger movie that was from?
No, of course I knew, but I'd never seen it. So I did watch it recently, and then I watched the other one, the Adrian
Danny
Brody.
Glover. Oh, the Adrian. I haven't
The
seen
Adrian Brody one, yeah.
the Danny Glover and the Schwarzenegger.
Oh, okay, no, I haven't. Yeah.
The Danny Glover one's okay. It takes place in L.A.
Oh, really? Yeah. I have to
The Predator running around L.A.
go back and do more research.
Go check it out. Let's get some questions from you guys in the audience. Who's got a question? Right here.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a big fan. Loved Chuck. Yes, I'm not the only one. Your character, Serena, you guys have said multiple times, is kind of the villain. You are obviously not. But so how did you find a way to connect with that character? Was there anything that you had to do specifically? Did you kind of humanize her, you were saying? How'd you do that?
I mean, like I was saying, a lot of it was so much a thought process, really, and just sort of sitting with her and sitting with the book and sitting with the scripts and trying to figure out why she turned out the way she is. I mean, like I said, I think that's a huge big deal when you're stripped of certain things and you get certain rights taken away from you. I mean, if you ask yourself, I don't know what you do for a living or what you like to do, but like pick your favorite hobby and what you do for a living and take that away from you, and take away a portion of your relationship to your favorite person, and then how do you live beyond that? So for me, it was a lot of just sort of imagining how that might affect different people, and different people might turn out different. Some people, maybe for some people, it would make them more nicer, or I don't know, more harmonious as a person on the inside. But for Serena, it just was sort of this demise down into this deep, dark hole, coupled with this need to have this child, and that really is her only shining light. I feel like I don't see any other shining light for her in this society, and
it's the only thing that she can have responsibility over. It's the only thing that she can sort of not. I don't want to use control in a negative way, but the only thing that she can actually connect with and hold on to and be a part of, because this world that she advocated for took everything away from her.
Right, and then the innocence of a child also, and how she can, and also in a non-negative way, manipulate that to her benefit. Also, I mean, both negatively and positively in the society that she's gotten herself into.
Helped create.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then gotten herself into.
Yeah.
Next question. Who's got a microphone?
Hello. Hi, how are we doing today? Pleasure having you here today, by the way.
Thanks.
So my question is, I know you were involved with the Mass Effect game series. I wanted to ask how your experience was voicing the game, and did the experience seem easier than traditional acting, or was the voice acting easier? Is it easier or difficult?
Oh, voice acting is so different because you don't you're not there with anybody. It's just you in a sound recording booth, studio thing, and there's a big window like this, and there's a couple people on the other side of it with the buttons and stuff, and you're just there reading your lines into a microphone. Sometimes they give you a picture or two to look at, but more often than not, you're just sort of making it up as you go.
You're like alone in a booth, and you're like, "Don't do it! Get out of there, Mark!"
Commander, don't leave. Yeah, it's all a lot of that. And
Play video games?
No.
Yeah, neither do I.
I played Sonic the Hedgehog when I was
The last time that I...
on a Sega when I was a kid. Those
I'm
Sega
sorry?
Mega Drives.
Sega?
Oh, how do you say it? Oh, Sega. Oregano,
That was
oregano.
like the most adorable thing that you just flew through Sega.
Sega, we say Sega in Australia. Tomato, tomato.
I knew I had to do it the
Come
accent,
on.
but it was really great. It was really great. Next question. I think it's our last one.
Hello, Yvonne. My name is Yvette, and I just have a question
Oh,
about.
Yvonne, Yvette. Look at that.
And my question is, I know that the original author of the story is still living, Margaret Atwood. And since the story, even though it is relevant today, not as extreme as the story, but since she is still living, did she have any input on the series or the script? And if so, what was it?
Yeah, she definitely had an input. I know that she's seen a few of the episodes. And I think she tweeted out that she really liked it. But no, she was definitely a consultant for Bruce Miller, who was our creator. And at the level of how involved she was, I'm not sure. That would probably be a better question for Bruce Miller to answer, and Lizzie. But yeah, she's into it for sure.
Yvonne, I gotta let you go. The Handmaid's Tale comes out next week on Hulu, right? It starts streaming.
Yeah.
And The Predator. When do we get to see The Predator?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I
Yvonne,
don't know.
thank you so much for being here.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you.